everywhere they do-do, do-do-do. Then they holler, black bottom, young or old, old or young. The guy that started it should be hung. Bo-do-de-o, bo-do-do-de-o-do. There's a guy I'd like to kill. If he doesn't stop, I will. Got a ukulele and a voice that's loud and shrill. 'Cause he lives next door to me, and he keeps me up till 3 with his ukulele and a funny melody. Crazy words, crazy tune, all that you'll ever hear him croon. Bo-do-de-o, bo-do-do-de-o-do. Bo-do-do, sits around all night long, sings the same words to every song. Bo-do-de-o, bo-do-do-de-o-do. His ukulele daily, how he'll strum. Bum, 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 vampin' and stampin'. Then he hollers, black bottom, crazy words, crazy tunes. He'll be driving me crazy soon. Bo-do-de-o, bo-do-do-de-o-do. I have begged that guy to stop. I have even called a cop. Told my dog go stick him, but the darn dog wouldn't go. But tonight will be the end. Yes, sirree, 'cause I intend to go up and kick him in the bo-do-do-de-o-do. Crazy words, crazy tune, all that you'll ever hear him croon. Bo-do-de-o, bo-do-do-de-o-do. Bo-do-do, sits around all night long, sings the same words to every song. Bo-do-de-o, bo-do-do-de-o-do. He's got to stop it, yes he must, or I'll just kill him, I'll kill him. Then I'll do the black bottom when I'm jailed for my deed. To the jury and the judge I'll plead. Bo-do-de-o, bo-do-do-de-o-do. Everybody sings nowadays. Bo-do-de-o, bo-do-do-de-o-do. Bo-do-do. Every goof, every cheek, tunes as you can begin to squeak. Bo-do-de-o, bo-do-do-de-o-do. Go on the east side, the west side, here or there, everywhere they do-do, bo-do-do. Then they holler, black bottom, young or old, old or young. The guy that started it should be hung. Bo-do-de-o, bo-do-do-de-o-do.
Greetings all.
I call to order this meeting of the Craven County Board of Education, a special call meeting due to the inclement weather of last Thursday. I welcome you all. It is November 17th, 2020. Dr. Dole, may we begin with the roll call?
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the board. Ms. Frances Boomer. Here. Ms. Naomi Clark. Present. Mr. David Hale.
Here.
Mr. Carol Ipock.
Present.
Ms. Stephanie King is absent tonight.
Yes.
Ms. Beatrice Smith.
Here.
Ms. Kimberly Smith.
Here.
Chairman, we have 6 members present, 1 absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is adoption of the agenda, and as this is a special called meeting, there will be no amendments, but we will use the agenda that was previously posted. Is there a motion to approve that agenda?
So moved. Second.
A motion second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. The agenda is approved. And next is the startups. I take great pleasure in taking a moment to talk about the startups. And I think all that we've gone through as a system, as a community, the pandemic, when you hear our vision, you realize we all have a role in where we are today and how we get back and how we turn the corner on this COVID pandemic. So listen for your role as I read the Craven County Schools vision. We envision a public education system that challenges all students as learners and prepares them to imagine and create a successful life, values educators and empowers them to inspire and spark innovation in every student, leads in education and community engagement, and invites all students, their families, and all members of the community to work together to support public education to the benefit of our students, our community, our nation, and our world. I hope you heard the words all, together, community, and the words success. With that, the Craven County Schools mission says, again, together. With their families and community, Craven County Schools will educate all learners to personal, professional, and civic success through challenging and personalized instruction. The Board of Education vision is a high-functioning, purpose-driven board leading personalized and systemic paths to success for students, staff, and community. And our mission statement says, through teamwork and commitment to the vision and mission of the Craven County Schools, the Board of Education will provide leadership to the system by setting direction, priorities, and policy, allocating resources consistent with the priorities of the district, serving as a liaison to the community, and modeling the principles of continual improvement. And speaking of continual improvement, we had training today on how we can continue to grow and improve. One of the things we do is we do a plus delta at the end of each of our board sessions. I'd like to just highlight a couple, and you'll find that the deltas for our last meeting almost all related to the audio and the ability to communicate and speak. So I'm just going to ask again that we be as clear as possible, use our microphones, and then I am somewhat challenged, but I'll keep Mr. Ipock in my view and try to call on him if there are questions. Also says we'd like to see our teacher of the year, principal of the year, and I'm hoping that they will be joining us on this system, at least via Zoom. Our core values, which relate to the continual improvement, are visionary leadership, student-centered excellence, organizational learning and agility, valuing people, focus on success, managing for innovation, management by fact, societal responsibility, delivering value and results, ethics, and transparency. I'd now like to call on Vice Chairman Francis Boomer, who will review the ground rules and safety considerations.
Good evening, everyone. These are our ground rules for the evening. We will post and approve the agenda. Listen as an ally. One person speaks at a time. Respect each other. Everyone participate. We will stay on task. We will start and stop the meeting on time. Schedule appropriate breaks. We will evaluate the meeting at the end. And we're asking everyone at this time, if you would please put your phones on vibrate or on silent. If we should have a fire drill, a fire warning, we're asking those of you who are sitting to my right, if you would exit out this door, walk as close as you can to the parking lot facing the bagel shop. We're asking those of you who are to my left, if you would exit out this door to my left. If you would exit this door, we're asking Dr. Doyle if she would open the door for us. We will walk through the front door, go as far as we can to the parking lot facing Babcock. We will all remain where we are until we get word that it is safe to come back in the building. If we should have a tornado warning, we would exit through the same doors, but we would go to the back hall. We would take cover our heads, protect ourselves, and we will remain there until the storm is over. And I'm going to ask Dr. Doyle at this time if she would review our Alice
Yes.
safety measure.
Yes, Vice Chairman. If we have an intruder in the building, we will first alert everyone that we can in the building, as well as inform all of those outside the building by calling 911, and continue to provide information as we are able during the episode. If we can evacuate, we'll do so immediately. If we are trapped in one part of, if we're trapped in this room, then we will lock it down, close all of the doors, and use all the materials that are available to us to defend ourselves. If someone enters this room, again, we will use all of the materials available to us to counter anyone who would try to do us harm. Thank you, Vice Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dole and Vice Chairman Boomer. It is my honor now to acknowledge a number of you that are here, either virtually or with us, but to all that are joining us, we thank you. We welcome you for joining us. There are members that assist us in every board meeting. Some cannot be with us due to the number in the room, but I'd like to highlight them. First of all, our Craven County Schools Principal of the Year is Claudia Casey, Principal at Tucker Creek Middle School. Our Craven County Schools Teacher of the Year is Gail Hardy. She is at New Bern High School. Our military liaison, and I mentioned both of our military counselors, they're so active this time of the year. Military liaison Cherry Point is Ms. Lefa Palmer, and our Craven County Schools military liaison counselor, Ms. Valerie Nasser. I take a moment to say thank you for all you do. Ms. Darlene Brown is Partners in Education Executive Director. And we always appreciate our principals and staff who are normally with us, but again, the numbers do not allow, but I know they're with us at least in body and spirit and listening. And I want to say again, thank you for your support and all you do each and every day. I take a moment also to recognize Mrs. Kelly Muse. She's board member elect for District 5, soon to take the oath of office. And to all, I hope you enjoy your meeting tonight. We appreciate your being there. I'd now like to call on our board attorney, Mr. Brian Gatchell, who will offer the invocation for this evening's meeting.
Board members, please pray with me. God of wonder, God of grace, let streams of your living justice flow down upon the earth. Send from your abundance the people, talents, and resources we need for our daily lives. We are grateful for the work that you have set before us and pray that with grace and understanding, we can come together for the common good. Continue to bless this body with courage, truth, and humility. Provide care to those who are ill and accompaniment to all those who mourn. Send us to love those most in need of your mercy. May they find comfort and strength as we open our hearts in compassion for one another. Grant us grace and reconciliation to ease the hurts in the world. Weave our varied gifts together and help us to find faith in service, hope in others' dreams, and love in the hand of a neighbor. Inscribe our hearts with justice. We give you thanks, gracious God, for this the day you have made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Gatchell. I now call on Ms. Ira Flowers. She is the administrative assistant to the superintendent who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join us if able.
To the flag, States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And a favorite part of our meeting on Thursday afternoons is the character word and core value. If able, we are going to bring up students from, I believe it is H.J. McDonald. The students are Lydia Reynolds, Jordan Queen, Faith Huffman, Diamond Dade, and Alana Smith Boston, again from H.J. McDonald Middle School. They will discuss the character word and our core values. The character word for this month is self-discipline, and the core value for the month of November is focus on success.
Welcome to a special episode of War Club Zero Hour. I'm your student host, Liddy Reynolds, and today on the show we're looking at some 8th graders to exemplify what it means to be a war club. Welcome to the show, Faith Huffman, Doreen Queen, Alana Smith Austin, and Diamond Dave. So you were all asked on the show today because of how well you've been doing during your middle school careers, and not only that, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking of the pandemic, what did you find the hardest thing about the pandemic, Jordan?
Things I found the hardest was not being able to see my friends and family like I used to, not doing outside activities like my sports and dance, and adapting to having a mask and wearing food everywhere that I go.
School got crazy at the start of the pandemic back in March. What was it like adjusting to that, Diamond?
I would say scary because with anything new, you really just don't know what to expect. More than anything, I was really unsure about the seriousness of the virus and didn't think school would be impacted as much as it has been. I can't say I love the mask, but I am glad that the schools have been quick about keeping us all safe.
What about you, Alana?
I think for everyone, it was mainly unexpected and depressing because we were all really used to going to school almost every day a week for multiple weeks at a time. And so stopping that and not learning in a way we were used to, I think that's made everyone kind of change their views on their used to be everyday basic lives.
Yeah, now, Faith, you only missed 8th grade this year, but I'm told by the producers that your track record for middle school is fantastic. How was it like coming to HJ Middle School this year?
It was good. I like the school a lot. I'm excited to start making new friends and learning new things and getting more involved in school.
So throughout all of this, you all have to be really disciplined. Yes, we might have our support groups, but the work comes down to us. Real quick, what does it mean to be self-disciplined?
To me, being self-disciplined is being able to recognize my priorities and keeping myself on track in and out of school and following a strict schedule. By doing that, I'm able to focus on my tasks and practice time management.
For me, it's just the ability to control and motivate myself without the help of others and staying on a schedule that helps me or others do productively.
As a 7th grader, it is awesome to hear the importance of self-discipline. No one is perfect though, so does anyone have any tips on how to recover when we are not as self-disciplined as we should be?
I would say try your best to stay on track, stay focused, and stay disciplined. Having a good routine is a good trait to have. Listen to your teacher, take notes and study. It may be tough sometimes, but it'll be worth it in the long run. If you do mess up, don't beat yourself up.
Everyone knows you have choices, right or wrong, and you'll know which one's the right thing to do and which one you probably shouldn't do. If you just so happen to choose the bad choice, just learn from it and don't do it again. For example, if some students don't want to do their work, that'll result in 0. And so maybe instead of you doing that, just try to do your work. And then in the end, you'll probably have gained something and maybe some free time too. So just learn from your mistakes and don't make them again.
Yeah, that is really encouraging to be able to hear that even when we are not as self-disciplined as we should be, we can still pull ourselves back up and continue forward. Well, that unfortunately does it for our time today. Thank you for coming on to the show, and thanks for being great role models for those at HJ.
Again, I thought there was another segment. We thank our students at HJ McDonald. It also gives me a chance to shout out. We can't do it with our students. You're very impressive. We appreciate all you do for us. We now have staff recognitions. I call on Vice Chairman Boomer, who will present the staff recognitions or introduce them.
Yes. At this time, we will ask Board Member Beatrice Smith to recognize the Finance Department.
Craven County Board of Education would like to commend the business department staff for attainment of the Association of School Business Officials International Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting for its comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year ending June 30, 2019. This award represents a significant achievement and reflects commitment to the highest standards of school system financial reporting, accountability, and transparency. The business department also received the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for fiscal year ending June 30, 2019. This award is presented to those governmental units whose annual financial reports are judged to adhere to the program standards and represents the highest award in governmental financial reporting. Therefore, tonight, we congratulate the business department, the business office staff on receipt of these awards and commend them for effective and efficiently managing Craven County School funds. They are Denise Arkman, Ellen Corey, Terry Dixon, Colleen Foreman, Gabrielle Frost, Peggy Gilling, is that right? Denise Korchek, Laura Jones, Jennifer Ledbetter, Carrie Rogers, and Renee Spellman. Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, we're going to ask Board Member Kimberly Smith to recognize the recipients of the North Carolina Community Fund Grant.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Boomer. Tonight, we would like to recognize Partners in Education, North Carolina Community Foundation, Craven Community Foundation, New Bern High, and James W. Smith Elementary for their commitment to student excellence. In September, the North Carolina Community Foundation awarded Partners in Education $9,990 for a grant for New Bern High for graphing calculators. We appreciate Mr. Jerry Simmons and Mrs. Darlene Brown for their work in securing these funds. We also celebrate Sherry Thomas, Cheyenne Story, and Ashley Fillingham for their work on being awarded $7,350 for a grant for James W. Smith Elementary for the Quaver Music Program. Both of these grants were made possible through the Richard Chapman Cleve Fund and the Craven County Unrestricted Fund. The grant for New Bern High will fund 180 Casio graphing calculators, giving their math students the tools needed to meet the mandatory test standards of the North Carolina math curriculum. Awarding of this grant demonstrates NCCF's understanding that success in high school math is a critical step for many of our students in meeting graduation requirements. Quaver Music will provide activities for each grade level as James W. Smith Elementary. Starting with kindergarten, there are activities designed to introduce beat and rhythm. These lessons build up as the years go by and introduce beat, rhythm, voice types, dynamics, and tempo. By the time students reach 5th grade, the lessons and activities begin with a review of concepts learned. NCCF's mission is to inspire North Carolinians to make lasting and meaningful contributions to their communities. Craven Community Foundation works in partnership with NCCF to access grant making and other resources that support local charitable purposes. Thank you to the Craven Community Foundation and the Richard Chapman Cleve Fund for providing support for local education. The awarding of these grants demonstrates their continuing commitment to improving opportunities for our students in Craven County.
Thank you, Mrs. B. Smith and also Mrs. Kimberly Smith for those recognitions. And at this time, we're going to ask our chairman, Mr. David Hale, if he will meet us in front right there where he has given so many recognitions in the past. And tonight it's time for us to recognize him. Come on, up in the chair now. I can get out.
Vice Chairman Boomer gave me the latitude to say a few words. The first thing I would do is welcome your family, because I know how much your family means to you and they're watching. So I don't know if they're on YouTube or Zoom, but they're watching and I know how much they mean to you and how much the man you are is because of your family. And I know that because I remember from the first time that Joseph called us Mork and Mindy. You know, we started a great friendship, and don't talk about it. You know, so we've been board buddies, and it's important to have a board buddy. This work is difficult. And we talk a lot, and we've sometimes been criticized over talking too much, but I'm going to set the record straight. When we talk, he spends 5 minutes talking about board stuff, and then he'll always call me last because we'll spend an hour talking about his family or my family, the world, our faith. So I want to say to you that, you know, I am a better board member, a better Christian, a better human because of the time with you, my board buddy, Mork. And I know that we are a better system because of your leadership. So, and with that, I'm going to read a proclamation that will go into the file and into our records to recognize your outstanding leadership with the board. Whereas the Craven County Board of Education gratefully acknowledges the leadership of Chairman David Hale to the Craven County Board of Education, and whereas Mr. David Hale began his service to the Craven County school system as a school counselor on November 1st, 2004, lovingly serving students and providing encouragement, comfort, support, and care to the students and staff with whom he worked in that role until June 30th, 2011. And whereas Chairman Hale has served for 12 years faithfully and successfully the citizens of Craven County as a member of the Craven County Board of Education, and whereas Chairman David E. Hale has steadily and carefully led the Board of Education through turbulent and challenging times for the Craven County school system for 4 years, from December 2016 to December 2020. And whereas Chairman David E. Hale has been recognized annually for his school boardsmanship, demonstrating his commitment to continual learning in his role as a school board member by amassing over 12 hours of professional learning annually. And whereas Chairman E. Hale, David E. Hale, is recognized for his heart, fairness, and unwavering commitment to duty and service as a Board of Education member, rarely missing an event and never missing a board meeting. And whereas Chairman David E. Hale has served as a respected military veteran and community leader who has worked to bridge the gap with other elected boards, faith groups, community leaders, and the business community to position the Craven County Board of Education in high esteem. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Craven County Board of Education does herewith acknowledge and commend the service of Board of Education Chairman David E. Hale by adopting this resolution recognizing Mr. Hale's service to the students and staff of Craven County Schools in his membership on the Board of Education. Be it further resolved that the Craven County Board of Education pays tribute to his caring, committed, and gracious leader by resolving to memorialize this recognition in the official minutes of the Craven County Board of Education.
Thank you. Very kind.
Make the motion for the resolution.
Oh, yes. Make a motion that we. I make a motion that we approve this resolution as Vice Chairman Boomer is presenting it. So I need a second.
Second.
A second.
All right, this is this beautiful plaque that I'd like to give to you, Mr. Hale, and it's just not, it's just a small token. I wrote to you what I wanted you to know in my car, so when you get a chance tonight, I want you to read it. But you have been an inspiration for all of us. You are that bridge that bring peace and harmony and love in the midst of the storms that we sometimes go through. It always has to be somebody that always is calm and collected and see the boat and see all sides of it. That is you.
Thank you.
You have been a blessing for this board, and everybody know the love that you have in your heart for this board, for the children in Craven County Schools, and for all the stakeholders. You are that person. And for that, we are so thankful that you serve, especially as our chair of the school board. You took the job not really knowing what you were going to do, but under the guidance of God, you managed to do a great job. And we thank you from the depths of our hearts for all the work that you have done. And we pray that, and we know that you'll continue to pray for this board as we go forward, trying to do what we are being led and guided to do for the children and for the parents and for our stakeholders and for everybody in the Craven County school system. And we love you.
Thank you.
We love you.
There's always more room for
love
love.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And this is your plaque.
I shall cherish this plaque, and equally, I will cherish the words I just heard from you. May I be given a personal privilege to just speak for a moment?
Yes.
I recall when I ran for this office the first time, someone asked me, why was I running? I was an old man then. I'm even older now. And I said, I want to give back to this community that has given me so much. As a child of Craven County Schools, I wanted to show my appreciation. I quickly learned this community continues to give me much more than I could ever hope to give. And I take a moment to recognize my board, very kind words. I came on inexperienced, knowing a little bit about education, but as a counselor, there's a whole lot more to learn. You all allowed me to make mistakes. You helped me and mentored me to become a better board member. And I quickly learned we are a family, truly a family. And yes, there's love and support. We may not always agree, but when we walk out the door, we have found that common ground. And that common ground, which I believe you alluded to, is always about our students. It's about our students and their success. So thank you. I was equally humbled. I'm humbled by the words you just used, but honored to serve as a chairman. And again, you rallied around me, you supported me, you helped me through that. I was a bit of a rookie, still am. And it's for that that I realize I have been blessed. My heart is full, it's a bit heavy, but I also want to take a moment to talk about Dr. Megan Doyle, Ms. Flowers. You have been there, as well as your cabinet and the central office, to support me, to make me a better board member. And someone said this, but you also made me a better person. But I don't want to leave without recognizing one or two other groups. Obviously, our teachers, our faculty, our staff, our leadership. You have been there. We have been through, as someone mentioned, very troubled waters. I am so convinced that when we turn the corner on this pandemic, we will see all the great things that you have been doing. And I see that we will be better and stronger. And I'll leave with this. We talked about love. You gave me a new love, and it's our students. Think about our students from kindergarten to super seniors, what they have done for our system. When our seniors sit at the panel, you realize, boy, we're blessed with great students, and they are our future leaders. And then if you've ever sat, and you recall this, a session interviewing elementary school students, their love of their teacher, their school. We asked, what would you like to have different? Don't change a thing. And so with that, I walked away with a new understanding and love. And so I will close by saying my heart is heavy, but it's heavy with love and appreciation. And I thank you all. Beautiful plaque.
We have one more gift for you, and we pray that you would use this and think about us every time you put something in it. Okay, you see what we're talking about.
Do you want me to look?
You can, yes, we wish that you would.
I see a beautiful card.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes.
You probably needed that.
Yes, I do. And I also need you and your friendship, and that will not change. And so again, I'm going to say thank you. I do not say goodbye well, so this is not a goodbye. It's just, I wish you all well, the best, and God's blessing. Thank you.
Vice Chairman, you need to also call the vote.
Yeah, we made the motion and seconded it, but we got to vote.
Oh. The motion was made that we approve this resolution honoring our chair, Mr. David Hale. All those you, did you get approval of this? All those you approve, let us know by throwing being up.
Aye.
And approve.
Did we want to ask if anybody else wants to say?
Oh, yes. At this time, the board members or anyone else, if you would like to say something and to Mr. Hill. I know Ms. Smith's gonna start out first because I know she wants to say, I can see it written all over her face. We're gonna start with Ms. Beatrice Smith first. All right.
I can hardly say words that are more appropriate than what has been shared already. However, I do recall when you first came to the board, when your name was brought to the board, we are members just like any other member in the community, but you were recommended to us, and most of us were Democrats. You know, this is a nonpartisan board, and most of us were Democrats, and the person that recommended you was a Democrat as well, and said to us, this person is Republican, this is nonpartisan, so wasn't an issue because of that. I'm saying it because of how it happened. But this person is a true individual that supports the school system, loves the children, supports teachers and the school system. You will never regret having this person as an addition to the board. No truer words have ever been spoken. You, Mr. Hale, have never missed an opportunity to share the love for Craven County, to share our vision and our care. You've never missed an opportunity to compliment the board for what they're doing, how they look, what they do, every effort. You never miss opportunities to say thank you and share. Would you like to have something to add? And this is the kind of person that is gracious, kind, and of course, I think that God is involved in that. And so it is with a heavy heart that I see you lead. I think that you have been a great asset to the board. And I know that you will still be a great asset to the community and still support the board. But I do appreciate you for all that you have done and continue to do, you and your family. And then even to bringing us, inviting us to your home and doing anything that you could to support the school system and the board. So I do thank you. And I look forward to seeing you out there in the other world and just enjoying life. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate it. We are family.
Ms. Clark?
Michelle, I agree with everything that's been said, and I wish you the best. And thank you for answering my innumerable questions. Thank you.
I often needed help, but you're always welcome.
Myra? Oh, I'm sorry. Carl, I forgot you were there. You were so quiet. Yeah, I know you have something.
I have been paying attention, close attention. Mr. Hale, you are an extraordinary leader, and I am so happy that you have been in the chair these last few years as we've gone through hurricanes. We've gone through an incredible pandemic, or going through it. And at every step of the way, you've been there to assist, to lead, to help us find our way. I remember when you came on the board, you onboarded very quickly. Of course, you had a lot of experience in your background being in the school system, but prior to that, much leadership experience that was very deep. But you helped us realize that we needed to chart a little bit different course and do some things differently, and you took the helm. You cemented our relationship with our county commissioners in a way that we had some difficulty prior. And then as you stepped in the chair's role, that relationship became even stronger. And then with the onboarding of Superintendent Megan Doyle, at every step of the way, you've been there to assist, lead, guide, listen. And for all of that, I appreciate you so much. You and I have a long history. It goes way, way back. And I hate to think about being there at the board for the next while without you right there. But I know that you're standing on the side, ready to jump in, and that you plan to participate when invited, and you're always invited. And I really look forward to our continued together in that regard. So bless you, my friend. I do love you.
Thank you for those kind words. And I think about leadership. I got the best of lessons from you and this board, and I think I'm a better person for having served on this board. Thank you for the kind words.
Ms. Meyer, we would like to hear something from you.
I agree with what everyone has said, and this is knowing I can talk to you, I think he knows how I feel, and I appreciate his leadership and being a part of it, being his leadership.
I appreciate the friendship and you're being there for us, and you really are there for us. The quiet one, but always there for us. Thank you.
Last but not least, Dr. Doyle.
Thank you, Vice Chairman, for giving me the opportunity to speak. Chairman Hill, I sincerely appreciate the grace and the kindness that you execute every aspect of the duties of chairman and Board of Education member, but also citizen of this county. And I sincerely appreciate the guidance that you've given to me, which has served our cabinet and our school system so well. So I thank you for the opportunity, not just to work with you, but and serve with you, but also to learn from you and to see how to be a great human being. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Very kind words. And remember, I learned from you as well. And I just know our future is bright. We've just got to get around the corner on this pandemic, and all the wonderful things you're doing, it'll be more evident. But thank you. Coach me, is it time to move on to the next? We have one last item before we have a break. I'm going to need that break. Can get a little emotional at times.
Okay.
But the next item is the summary of our board work session from last week. Vice Chairman Boomer, it is your chance again.
I'm gonna take this mask off this one. No, I keep it on. Dr. Tasha Diggs, Assistant Superintendent for Academic Services, recommended that the Board of Education receive as information the graduation dates for the 3 traditional high schools for the 2020-21 school year. Mrs. Debbie Hodges, Director of Student Services, recommended that the Board of Education approve the contract for driver's education services with Jordan Driving School for the Carolinas Incorporations at bid in response to the Craven County Schools request for a proposal. In the absence of Mrs. Michelle Lee, Assistant Superintendent for Strategic Planning and Continuous Improvement, Dr. Tasha Diggs, recommended the Board of Education approve contracts for temporary nursing services with Bayada Home Health Agency, Maximum Healthcare Services, and Aviana Healthcare for Exceptional Children's Department. These nurses are needed to provide skilled nursing support to individual students with exceptional needs as prescribed by Individualized Education Program, the IEP. In the absence of Dr. Wendy Miller, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Dr. Doyle recommended that the Board of Education approve the Human Resource Report for November 5th, 2020. Dr. Ashley Cooper, Director of Information and Accountability, recommended that the Board of Education approve an increase in our current transcript fees of $10 for alumni and $20 for the corporate request. The increase in transcript fees will support the plan to digitize all student records. The overall plan to digitize student records is a larger project, and fees collected from transcript requests will support and make the project self-sustaining without the use of additional funds. The board voted to approve the transcript fee as follows: alumni $5, corporate $15. Director of Information Services and Accountability, Dr. Ashley Cooper, recommended that the Board of Education approve state class size waivers for the following schools and grade levels: Roger Bell New Tech Academy grade kindergarten, 1 class; W.G. Gerganis Elementary grade kindergarten, 2 classes; Arthur Edwards Elementary 2nd grade, 1 class; Brinson Memorial Elementary second grade, 1 class. James W. Smith Elementary, third grade, 1 class. Oaks Road Academy, third grade, 1 class. Roger Bell New Tech Academy, grade 3, 1 class. Trent Park Elementary, third grade, 1 class. W.J. Gorganis Elementary, third grade, 1 class. Mr. Nick Lucas, Director of Safety and Security, recommended the approval of SCI Technologies as the vendor for the completion of the building camera project in support of the district safety plan in the amount of $197,852.46 for the camera system upgrade for 26 sites. These funds were budgeted in the 2019-2020 Craven County Schools capital outlay budget and were carried over because they were not spent in that budget year. Mr. Nicholas Lucas, Director of Safety and Security, recommend also the Craven County School Board of Education approve the 2020 and 2021 safety plans for the school year. And this will be reviewed, I think, in closed session. Mrs. Lauren Whalen, Director of School Nutrition, recommended the Craven County Board of Education receive as information and update for school nutrition, including the fresh fruit and vegetables program, summer feeding, and the meal services for the start of the school year. Mr. Stacy Lee, Chief Officer, Assistance and Operations, recommended the Craven County Schools Board of Education approve the bus camera upgrades as part of the overall safety plan initiative. Superintendent Dr. Megan S. Doyle recommended that the Board of Education receive as information and update on the operational plans for school districts in the Southeast region of North Carolina. In addition, Dr. Doyle will share feasibility and plans to increase the number of days of instruction for secondary students and the feasibility of considering transitioning to Plan A. Superintendent Dr. Megan S. Doyle recommended that the Board of Education approve a revision to the 2020-2021 Craven County Schools Strategic Plan for Goal 5, which is operations and resources. Superintendent Dr. Megan Doyle recommended that the Board of Education approve the following dates proposal for the remaining 2020-2021 organizational reviews. January 26, 2021, 9 a.m., April 20, 2021, 8:30 a.m., and June 24, 21, 8:30 a.m. Board member Kimberly Smith reviewed the board's goal work as she continued to provide updates to the board's manual procedure. The Board of Education went into closed session to consider the qualification, competence, performance, or condition of appointment of a public officer or employee of prospective public officer of employee, North Carolina Journal Statute 143-318-.11.6, to consult with an attorney in order to protect the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which is privileged, is hereby acknowledged. And that concludes our work, a summary of the work that we did at our last board session. And in date, it will be on our website, the complete report. So those of you who would like to read it, it will be on the website. So you can read it.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chairman Boomer. That was excellent and thorough. I appreciate it. And now it is time for a break, and a very convenient number. It is 6:45. We'll take a 10-minute break. We'll be back at 6:55. Thank you.
Before we.
Say Wednesday before you met,
So, he passed away, so we're gonna come outside, so.
I now call back to order this Craven County Board of Education as we continue our agenda. The next item is public input, and I ask Vice Chairman Boomer, are there citizens that will request to address the board?
No, sir, we do not have any input tonight, citizen input tonight.
Thank you. We'll continue on. The next would be our approval of minutes. We have a number of minutes that are from a regular and special called meeting, September 15th, September 17th, September the 29th, October the 13th, October the 15th, October the 20th. Are there any corrections to these minutes? Here
you want to approve them all at one time?
These are the regular special call. We
Okay,
do that.
okay.
Yeah. May I have a motion to approve them as posted?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And for closed session meetings, they would be August the 20th, August the 26th, September 15th, September 17th, October 13th, October 15th. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think Mr. Ipock
Did you say
is
something?
with us. There you are.
Yes.
You are
He said aye.
Thank you. We also have an addendum to our Human Services or Resources Services report for November. It is addendum 5A. Dr. Miller.
Board members, I bring before you tonight addendum 5A for November for those personnel actions that have taken place since the original agenda. And I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Chair, I have some questions that are going to require us to go into closed session.
Okay, that will be fine. We do have a closed session scheduled, and we will bring this back out for action after the closed session.
Absolutely.
Thank you. The next item is consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that you would like to pull? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Approved, unanimous, or unanimous with those that are here. We continue on with the superintendent's report. Dr. Megan Doyle.
I'm going to hand something out first.
Is this?
Say what?
Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the board, there was a question from one of our members about the percentage of students that are in danger of failing. One thing I want to say clearly to the audience as well as the board is no one has failed anything at this point. Although we have received report cards, a failing grade is not official until it's marked on a transcript or it's used to make a promotion decision. However, the information that you have in front of you represents the number of students or the percentage of students at each of our schools that is in danger of failure for this school year based on their current status after the first 9 weeks. As you can see, these numbers are concerning. I'll say that they represent trends that we're seeing across not just the state, but the country. Members of our Southeast region superintendent's group were on a call earlier today with a group from Pennsylvania, and again, these trends are consistent. One thing that I think is clear, especially as you look at the data, these numbers are higher in our schools that have some of the most significant challenges with regard to socioeconomic status. And they represent really the barriers that our students have to accessing remote instruction because of a lack of supervision, maybe the fact that they are responsible for taking care of other more adult responsibilities during the pandemic as their student or their families endure hardships. And also the challenges with being able to access their instruction during this time. It's also important to note that this represents our first 9 weeks when we were totally remote in our instruction. So students have come back, and our school leaders are reporting that there's more opportunity to catch students as far as engagement, but it's still not sufficient. It's still not enough. So this is work that our school leaders are, they've already been working on. We have schools that are making home visits. We have teachers that are making consistent and systematic contact with parents. A great deal of what we are getting reported to us from families is the challenge of having to work and being able to supervise their students when they're at work and they're at home, and the students are at home, and making sure that they're doing their schoolwork as they're supposed to. Our school principals will be reviewing this data as a group this coming Thursday at our principals meeting. We will be also convening a group of students who are kind of in this situation to find out what is not working for them so that we can see what strategies might be most applicable to serving them and getting them more engaged. I know this was a question of one of our board members, so I'm happy to take questions at this time. I also have Dr. Diggs here, who has been having discussions specifically with our high school principals about the challenges that they're seeing.
Excuse me. Dr. Doyle, I appreciate your candor and your transparency, because that's the only way our system is going to get better. I'm heartened when you say we're calling in committees because this needs to be fixed. Two of the concerns that I'm hearing across the board, across the county, are, again, students are spending too much time on Zoom. And I'm not castigating the teachers or the staff, because I know that they're doing a wonderful job. Also, there appears to be no mechanism for students to work ahead, so that if they get behind, then that's going to be a failure. There also seems to be, this is what I'm hearing, a lack of communication and, again, consistency between the schools. My child might attend one school and there is a different procedure grading for benchmarks, whereas I can go to a different school and that's not the case. I'm asking again, how are we going to fix this? And that there be some consistency amongst the schools. But again, I certainly appreciate the transparency, because parents want to know what's going on with their students.
Absolutely.
Now, what is your goal? I know you're going to meet with the students. I know you're going to have meetings with regard to the schools. What's the timeline? I mean, when are we going to start working, making a concerted effort to get this fixed?
Obviously, we, with our secondary students, the problem is more imminent, because we have students that are supposed to be completing coursework by December.
Yeah.
It's also important to note, and I think this is pertinent at this time, our semester is significantly shortened, and already was before there was a pandemic, because of the calendar that we adopted for the school year. So we have about 8 to 9 less instructional days this semester versus second semester, because of the calendar adoption and getting our school year done before the Memorial Day holiday, which has benefits, over the long term for year-long courses, but for our semester courses, first semester, there's a bit of a disadvantage. So our first priority is to work on those secondary students. Obviously, we have a little bit more time with our middle and elementary school students, because they still have 3 quarters to complete their coursework. One of the things I think that this has brought up is an issue that is not just unique to the pandemic. It's just it's an issue that's probably pervasive across all subjects and schools and school systems, and that is how we grade and what we grade. You bring up a concern about too much time in front of Zoom. But we also want to make sure, and one of the challenges we hear from teachers is that some of the work that's being completed, they're not exactly sure that it's being completed by students. We want to ensure that the work that is being required is directly related to the standard, that it's not busy work, and that we're getting the most efficient use of the teacher's time and effective use of the teachers and the students' time. And that is the challenge right now, as we have, part of our day, part of our time with our students is remote and part of it is face-to-face. So teachers are making judgments about what to grade, how to assess students, and what to do with students, both when they're in front of them face-to-face, as well as when they are assigning them work that is going to be done on their own time at their own pace. Those are continued conversations that need to happen. I know that some of our teachers really did a great job of communicating with parents, saying to them, look, this first 9 weeks, we recognize there are challenges where we don't want you to get so far behind that you cannot recover. And they made contact with them and really communicated well with those families about what was going on. We've got to make sure that that's happening across the board. The one thing that we cannot afford to do is see this pandemic cause long-term harm to our students. And so we're going to look for strategies that we can incorporate that also still hold our students accountable for the content they have to learn to be successful in their next grade or their next subject. I think we're challenged in some regard by the policies that were implemented in the spring. Students kind of got the feeling after a certain date that they didn't have to complete work, which quite frankly they didn't, in order to earn their credit for last school year. And that maybe created some habits or some misconceptions about how school would be this fall if we continued with remote instruction. So continued communication on our part. As I mentioned, hopefully we'll get some information that we don't have and don't understand from having these focus groups with students to see how that informs our work moving forward. I do know, because I've had conversations, and Dr. Diggs has had conversations with our 3 comprehensive high schools, that they are all very concerned about this. We have school principals making home visits, teachers making home visits, of course, observing all the safety and health protocols. Even sometimes despite those home visits and trying to follow up, they're still not getting the type of engagement that they're after the fact. We do need, as much as is humanly possible, the support of our families, but we also have to be understanding that those families are going through one of the most significant crises that any of us has seen in our lifetimes. And so trying to find that balance is where we're going to hopefully work with our staff and leadership with.
Do you have an opinion as to Bangor and Craven Early College are both at 44%. Do you have an opinion as to why those percentages are where they are?
I don't. I don't have an opinion really about. I've only really had specific conversations at the secondary level with the comprehensive high school. 2 of those principals right now at this point. I know part of the challenge at Craven Early College is that there's college courses. And so some of these students who, especially freshmen, have been forced into college courses earlier than they might typically have been forced into, and that may be part of the problem. But we haven't dug down deeply enough into that school in specific. Bangor, I don't know, because I have not had that conversation.
So when I'm looking at the, when I'm looking at the scores for, I'm going to say the middle school and the high school. Okay, so if it's the number that they have are high. Okay, and so having said that, which leads me to believe that most of the, a great number of the middle school and the high school kids have made probably less than 60 in their classes. Which also leads me to, and I know that teachers are working hard.
Absolutely.
I know, and I don't take anything from them. I know that they are working extremely hard. And I know that sometimes, for whatever reason, that our students are not tuning in when they're home, they're not getting into the classes when they're supposed to. I know that some of them, when it's the class starts, I'm saying at the high school level, the class starts at 7:30, and sometimes the children don't get up there until 8 o'clock or 8:15, which puts them behind. I also know that there are a lot of parents who are working, who are perhaps not even aware of this. The bottom line for me is this. I pray that all the teachers are making a special effort to get in contact with these parents, to make them aware before the 9 weeks is over with that your child is failing my class because he or she is not getting online. They're not getting to class on time. And to emphasize that even though they are home during the class, they are supposed to get to report to their class on time, just like they are when they are in school.
Absolutely.
I also like to encourage the teachers. I've been a teacher myself, and I do know that if you, regardless of what the reason is, and I know it's aggravating, it's frustrating that you're doing all that you can, you're giving the assignments, and the kids are not doing their work. But especially the first 9 weeks, if you give them exactly what they have made, and some of them probably didn't make anything, but if you give them a 35 and a 40, you've lost that child for the year. Because if that child got to go back and make about a perfect score to bring that 40 or that 35 up to a 60 to pass. So you're not only hurting yes, the child did it. They should have studied. I understand that. But we got to do more than that. To me, if a child fails with a 10, it's the same F. The F is going to look the same. So if he fails, at least give him a 50 or 60 to give them opportunity. I'm saying for the first 9 weeks. At least give that child an opportunity. Work with the parents. Call the parents. Give them an opportunity to do something to bring that grade up. Dude, you've already lost half of your class for the first 9 weeks. That's not what we want to do.
Right.
That is not what we want to do. It's hard on parents, as it is, and we understand that. We don't know what these parents are going through. It's hard. So call the parents. Call them again. Let them know your child is not doing what he or she is supposed to do. At least at the end of the semester, you will know I did all that I could do. I called the parents. I encouraged the kids. They didn't do it. If they fail, they fail. But don't fail them in the first 9 weeks. If you fail them in the first 9 weeks, then you forget those kids because you've already lost them. You can't, how do you expect a child to pull up a grade and you give them a 15 or a 20 or 25 or 35 or 40, whatever they made? That's not what we're trying to do. It's not. And I know it's aggravating, I know it's frustrating, but it's also aggravating, frustrating for the parents too. So we just have yes, parents are going to have to be more responsible, take responsibility to check with their students, their children. Did you go online? Let me see your work. What are you doing? Get in contact. Sometimes the parents need to call the teacher. Don't depend on the teacher calling them all the time. We all got to work together. It is what it is. We have to work together. Parents need to call the teachers. Teachers need to call the parents. Everybody need to work together. We can't work against each other. What are we going to accomplish? Nothing.
Let me say a couple things that we have thought about at Central Services that we're going to do. One is making sure we're going to go ahead and mail some information home to all students that have not passed. So just in case the parent didn't check Power School, they're going to get something in the mail. There may be options for students to take incompletes if there were extenuating circumstances, that type of thing. It's really critical that we, though, have those conversations with those students who are kind of in this boat so that we understand what maybe things that we have not thought about that are affecting their ability to move forward as we try to put some strategies in place to rectify as much as we can of this situation. Obviously, we know it's important, again, to know on this list, we have students that fail courses every single year. So, for example, a freshman may fail one course their first semester of their freshman year. They started out a little rocky or rough. That doesn't mean they won't get promoted if they keep making progress and getting better throughout that school year. But we also know that at the freshman level, if you do not get promoted from 9th grade to 10th grade, that has a really significant impact on your likelihood of graduating, definitely graduating on time. So 9th grade, focusing on 9th grade promotion is one of our key strategies. And so again, I know our principals have been working on this, and this is an area of grave concern from our principals. The ones that we've talked about are worried about it. All of them are. But we've got to figure out what we're missing. And some things may be obvious and some things may not be obvious, but we hope that by having some conversations with our students and trying to partner with them even more during this time will assist us in identifying potential strategies.
Yeah.
Ms. B. Smith.
I'm looking at these high numbers for elementary schools, especially when we get like 7 to 8 and in the 60s and 70, 72 and that kind of thing. And I'm wondering, I know it's not our job to tell teachers how to teach, or even what to teach. But I'm wondering, when I look at these numbers, if it's because they do not have what they need as far as equipment is to be successful in the courses, or if the level of teaching, because if you've got a class and 87% of that class is failing, it seems to me that we might need to look at what we're teaching and how we're teaching. That program may need to be changed to something else. When you have that number, and you don't have to go 9 weeks before you can realize that number is failing. So I would like for us to take a look at what is being taught and what is being used to help children succeed, to see if that would be something that could move us forward.
And I'll say that's one of, I think, our teachers' biggest challenges at this time. You know, as a teacher during regular, normal time, we think every assignment that we give has value, right? What we've learned, obviously, through continuous improvement in the classroom is that not every assignment has the same value.
Correct.
And not every assignment is even valuable to anyone at all. It's really important, even more in this environment where students their amount of time is limited with us as teachers, that we really make good judgments about the quality versus the quantity of work that we're assigning and evaluating.
That's what I'm looking at.
Trying to fit all of the same number of assignments that we fit into, a regular school year with 180 face-to-face days and 1,025 face-to-face hours is not going to work in this current environment because we don't have that same amount of face-to-face time.
True.
And even if we force kids to do that by Zoom, for example, Ms. Clark, they would not be engaged. And so we also have to recognize that sometimes when they were sitting in front of us, when we were face-to-face, they weren't engaged.
Correct.
The difference was, though, as a teacher, I could go over to that kid in the class and touch them and say, look, you're going to do this right now.
That's right.
And regardless of whether they told me they thought the assignment was valuable or not.
Right.
Which kind of goes to the whole conversation about, what is true. Is it busy work or is it really valuable? And have we tried to explain to the student why this assignment is helping us determine whether they understood the content or not?
Right.
Teachers may say that they don't have the time to do that. Now is the most important time for us to do that.
If you don't have time to do it and you continue to teach and 87% of your children are not getting it, then you're wasting your time going through, because some of your children will move forward whether you help them or not.
Right.
You know, you have a few in every class that's self-motivated. So, it's hard. And I'm not trying to say anything negative about teachers. As Francis said earlier, I know they're doing the best. This is new to all of us, and it's trial and error. So I know that they're well-intended and doing the best they know to do. But sometimes when we're doing something and it's not working, we need to stop and try something different.
And please recognize that this is from the first 9 weeks when we were totally remote. So I know already significant adjustments have been made. And a big adjustment has been made just in the fact that students are now physically in front of us.
Right.
We just have to use this data to make improvements moving forward so that we don't leave so many students without earning credits. Yes, sir.
I wonder if Mr. Aycock has a question or comment.
Mr. Hale, I'm good. I hear the conversation quite well. Agree with the concerns that are being expressed, and join the board and the superintendent in trying to find better ways to connect to these students.
Well said. Ms. Smith, did you have anything else to add?
I don't have a question. I would like to say that, and Ms. Smith said it a little bit too, we have to have the tough discussions, but I also want to make sure that we're encouraging all the way, because this is new, it's hard on everybody. And everybody is exhausted. Teachers, parents, principals, students, everybody's exhausted. And so working smarter, not harder would be good. And I'm sure you'll report back to us.
Yes.
Probably at the December meeting.
Yeah, and I think even sooner than that, after we talk this week with school leaders and discuss strategies, I can certainly send that information to the board so that you're aware of what's happening.
I think doubling back with what Kim said, sometimes folk are doing what they think is expected of them. So they're teaching that material because in an ordinary situation, that's what they know they're supposed to be teaching. But sometimes it may not work for them.
You go ahead.
I just want clarification. First of all, I appreciate these are difficult times, and I appreciate the fact we're taking this on and saying we need to reverse this trend. But I did need clarification. We have had discussion. I do not remember if it became policy about what is a minimum grade that can be put on a report card or a transcript, especially after our first 9 weeks. Did we have that?
I thought it was.
It was supposed to have been 50.
Which goes back to what you said so well. We cannot lose a student after 9 weeks.
It is the board's practice. It is not in policy.
Okay.
One thing I will say, though, is it's possible that based on this information, I may bring a recommendation for policy change to you.
Or at least a regulation.
Based on what we find out in the next week or so.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been practiced for about 6 years, Dr. Diggs indicated.
And all the principals should be aware of that practice.
Yes.
Yes. So let me just say this. When I initially responded to Ms. Clark's question, I said it was so much better than I thought. It was not. The reason was because we pulled all the grades that were 50 and below, which is the practice, as I've mentioned, when we pulled it based on the students that were below 59, which is the failing grade, then it was higher. But that does tell you also how close most of our students in this group are. They're close. And I also know, saying what I just said, teachers are trying to balance making sure kids stay engaged.
That's right.
And also holding them accountable for learning the content and trying to find that balance. All of you say, I say, I'm sure our school leaders, and I'm sure our principal, our teachers are also trying to figure out what is, enough and what is too much in terms of trying to send the message that we need more from you without, pushing kids over the edge.
But I thought it was that you could not fail a child with a 59.
That's what I thought when I was teaching.
A child has a 59.
For the final grade.
For the final grade, yes. Oh, okay.
Thank you. Ms. Clark.
Just two things. Just reality check. No one's beating on teachers.
No.
Or beating up on teachers. You used to be a teacher, been there, done that. But I also had to realize, and I'm hoping my colleagues or former colleagues realize that if I have a class full of kids who are failing, it's not the kid's fault. Something's wrong with my teaching method. And two, I realize that this is the first 9 weeks, but if I'm hearing a bunch of middle school students on their way to the store singing, "We're on a road to nowhere," that's alarming. And that's something that the principals and the teachers need to understand. That means they think it's busy work. And somewhere along the line, we've got to, you mentioned rationale. We just need to do a more effective job. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, please.
One other comment, if I may. When it was my turn to do go work, and I was isolated at home and had to do it over computer, I found I was working with all adults, with you in the room. I found it difficult because I had no eye contact, and I had no way of being fully aware of whether you understood, whether you were really with me or not. So I realized the difficulty that teachers are experiencing as they teach children. When you are on the computer, you cannot always tell what's happening in the room. And I was trying to surmise what was happening in one room, and the teacher is looking in maybe 25 houses or 20 houses. So I understand that difficulty. So let by no means anyone think that we are thinking that teachers are not dedicated, that they don't have a hard job. We realize this is a difficult time, but we want to come to some meeting of the minds, because we all teachers and all of us have the interests of children at heart. So that's the goal where we're trying to get.
If I could make one more point. In 9 months, we've asked teachers to change their entire system of instruction.
Yes.
Okay? We've also asked students to change their entire system of learning.
Right. That's right.
Everything has not all gotten together. You think about the work that we are trying to do as a school system to make improvements. Well, everything in the midst of that has totally changed. So this grading and assessment problem is one we were trying to solve before there was a pandemic, before there was a hurricane. We've just got to accelerate that change so that we don't leave, again, students behind in that that mess, quite frankly. Right. So we're trying to make quick change, and we don't want to leave things, any stone unturned. But doing things so rapidly, has created a great deal of work on our teachers and our students and families. So again, trying to remake that system in a hurried way clearly has not something that has been solved yet, or else someone in the country would have been able to tell us what to do. We're in the same spot as many others are. However, we all need to be cognizant, I know that we are, that our community cares about our children.
We do.
And so we need to figure out what we can do and what strategies or interim kind of stopgaps we can put in place so that students are not significantly derailed from their futures.
Yeah. Correct. It boils down to cooperation and communication. I guess we have to find better ways to communicate. We have to cooperate with the homes, and parents have to cooperate with the teachers, and we all have to realize that all of us want what's best for the children. And the teacher cannot do it all by themselves. And we are encouraging parents to work with the children, make sure that they're doing all that they can do. And whenever parents can, and when teachers can, to communicate with the parents as well, to let them know that sometimes the children are not doing what they're supposed to do. And my heart goes out to teachers and the parents. But we are in a situation where we did not ask for, but we are all in it. And the best way that we can deal with it is that we don't put the blame on anybody. We can't transfer blame. But the only way that we can get through this is that everybody work together, cooperate and work together so that we can do what's best for our children.
Board members, if there's nothing further about that issue, I do have one more thing I just want to let the board know about. I am a representative on a statewide task force on the state's accountability system, as well as recommendations that our state would make to the federal government in the middle of the pandemic. A couple of the challenges that you may not have thought of yet, but will become a challenge for us and every other system in the state of North Carolina and across the country is there are certain rules that the United States Department of Education holds us to in terms of ensuring that we are complying with all of the regulations to continue to receive federal funding and even at the state level, state funding. An example of one of those among many is the 95% tested rule. So when we administer a state assessment, which is also part of our federal ESSA plan, that's the old No Child Left Behind, we are responsible for testing 95% of our students. The challenge right now is that we have about 35% of our students who are totally remote in Craven Live, and they have designated that they want to be totally remote because they are concerned about coming to school. They have told us, or some of them have said to us, they don't feel comfortable coming in to take a test, just like they didn't feel comfortable coming in to receive instruction. The state has not changed their system to respond to that as of yet to be able to create secure testing at students' homes. Now, as an example, many of our students who are taking college placement exams or graduate placement exams can take those tests at home, and there's some kind of mechanism that shows whether they might be getting unauthorized assistance during those tests. The state of North Carolina doesn't have that. So if we don't get 95% of our students to test, then there is some penalty for that. The other thing I would ask the board to think about in kind of the big sense is, just like I said before, our system has changed. We are not required. We can't even be compelled at this point because of the state of our planet to meet 180 days of in-person instruction or 1,025 hours of in-person instruction as directed by the North Carolina calendar law. Our accountability system of state tests is built on that. 90 minutes of, for example, physical science, or let's say biology for 90 days or 85 days, depending on your calendar, and then you take an end of course test at the end. Well, that's what our system is based on. The accountability system in North Carolina is based on, but that's not reality right now. So just as I said that our students and teachers are needing to respond and change our system to be able to be successful, we're seeing kind of that same slow transition on the state level, which has implications for our federal and state accountability systems. So I wanted you to know that, one, I'm serving on that committee and task force, providing advice to the state and the State Board of Education. This is a State Board of Education committee. And then I'll be reporting on our progress in having some impact on that moving forward. We had been told in the last month or so that the United States Department of Education was not going to provide waivers like they did in the spring for last school year for testing. We don't know where that is right now. And we do hope that there will be some flexibility and acknowledgement of, the historic challenges that we all confront with regard to accountability. Nobody is saying that they don't want to be accountable. We want to make sure that our kids are making academic progress, understanding content, and ready to go to the next level. But we can't use, I don't think, the same measures that we have been using all along because they just don't fit the system that we are currently finding ourselves in. So I wanted to let you know about that and give you an update, and I will continue to update the board on that as we move forward. And that's all I have in my report.
Thank you
Yes,
for your
ma'am.
report. Thank you.
Ms. Clark had a question.
Two areas, and you can just clear this up. The concerns I'm hearing are about, Dr. Doyle, the procedure when a class is quarantined, and two, I'm still hearing concerns from both teachers and parents about how the buildings are sanitized. Can you talk about that, please?
Sure, I'll be glad to. First, quarantine is based on close contacts. So for example, if we have a student or a staff member who has symptoms while they're on campus, then, for example, they come to school and they're fine, they don't have any symptoms. Sometime during the day, they start developing symptoms like a cough or a fever or both. Then anyone who is in their space for more than 15 minutes, less than 6 feet, will be considered a close contact, and our lead nurses will make contact with those students and their families or those staff members and let them know that they're a close contact and quarantine them. Again, I cannot say enough how thorough our lead nurses are, and the contact tracing that they're doing, I would put it up against anyone. They're doing a phenomenal job. So it is dependent upon that proximity, so less than 6 feet and more than 15 minutes. All right, so that's how individuals would get quarantined. Now, if a whole classroom getting quarantined would have to happen if, for example, let's say a kid was in class and they weren't wearing a face covering. The teacher didn't make them wear a face covering, and the students, as we started calling parents, the students started telling the lead nurse, well, the kid wasn't wearing a mask the whole time. Then we might say to the whole class, you need to be quarantined.
So what would happen? I mean, what's the effect if an entire class is quarantined?
Then those students would go back to remote instruction. And if the teacher is still able to provide instruction, they're quarantined as well, then they will provide instruction. If they happen to not be quarantined, they would be providing instruction from the school building. But instruction will still go on as long as students can receive it and as long as staff can deliver it. If we needed a sub, we will do that. We've had to use subs across the board. The last time I talked to our 2 lead nurses yesterday, and this is not an exact number, but we have about 250 staff members who are quarantined right now. And that's been pretty consistent. So that was the first question. The second question is about the cleaning of buildings.
Yes.
And our custodians continue to use their checklist to clean and sanitize. Our staff, our teachers are cleaning in between class changes. If we're talking about the high school, if it is elementary school, it's during big transitions, like if they go out for a mass break or if they're going out for some kind of a recess, and then before they come back. So those high touch areas are being done regularly. Restrooms, hallways, that kind of stuff are being done during the day when students are in class, in the afternoons, and then of course on Wednesdays.
Just one last question with regard to the toilets for the adults. Have we considered putting coverings on those disposable coverings?
I don't know that we don't have those in some places, but I'm happy to ask about.
Would you ask for all the buildings, if you're using them, please, at some? Perhaps we might want to use them at all. Thank you, Dr. Dorr.
Thank you.
Ms. B.
I'd like to know if you've been able to add additional janitorial support.
So he has been able to hire temporary custodial support, and kind of irony is that the first custodian that he hired temporary ended up having to be quarantined like the second day. That's just our luck. It has nothing to do with anything that is done wrong. But he has been able to get temporary custodial help, and that has been very, very helpful during this time. In multiple situations, we still have vacancies that we're trying to fill, and we are competing with everybody. We're competing with, private business, other local governments for these really critical employees. Ms. Boomer.
And I know you would use that as an example, but it's kind of stuck to my mind. In a situation wherein you had a teacher and there were one student or too many, one student or two students, or ever how many are sitting in the classroom saying they don't want to wear a mask, and the teacher does not make them wear a mask. They don't have an option in that, do they?
No.
So it is understood that every teacher and every student in the building is supposed to wear a mask.
100%. And I'll tell you, I know of other situations in other places where that's not being enforced as much. We have not heard that complaint.
Okay.
I will say also, our nurses haven't heard it because they call, when they call and ask about contact tracing, they're asking these questions. They have not heard it. And when we have had to quarantine students because they were a close contact, it has only been the kids in the
Okay.
close perimeter. It has not been every kid in the class. To date, and I want to knock on something, we've not had to do that because everyone is doing such a phenomenal job following the rules.
Okay. I was just wondering.
And that's the thing I really want to emphasize for the public who's listening. If we would just follow the rules, if we would wear our face coverings, if we would maintain our distance, if we would wash our hands consistently. And I'll tell you, it's the distance and the face coverings that are the biggest things. If we would do that consistently, we would not have nearly as much problem. All of the issues that we have, I think here and all of the other school districts that have been required to follow these protocols, everything that we are getting inside our building is because of something that's happened outside.
Not inside.
On the weekend, on holidays, in the community. It's not because people are trying to do anything wrong. I mean, we're all sick of wearing the face covering, but it is keeping us safe. And so if we were all more consistent in all aspects of our lives, not just when we're at work, we would see the number of infections decrease significantly.
Right.
But that's why I think we're able to continue with school when we see this fluctuation of infection outside the buildings, is because we have such a closed, system in terms of everything has the same expectations. When we're going to run into problems is when it affects our teaching staff in such a way that we don't have enough people to continue continuity of instruction.
Right.
And we're hoping that we don't ever have to have that situation. We've been very fortunate with our substitute teachers. Human Resources has done a great job making sure that we continually have a group. And I know that in schools, we've got folks covering for each other. I know that's happening. But our staff and our school leaders are making that work to be able to continue with continuity of instruction and maintain a regular schedule of teaching and learning.
Are we good? Yes, sir. Moving into the chairman's report, the first item is goal work. Ms. Kim Smith, any comments you'd like to make on goal work?
Yeah, just that we'll continue in our December meeting.
Yes.
We were supposed to do Stephanie's today, but she's ill, so we'll.
And we did have our training today, and that was discussed, so that certainly will carry us forward. We did not have public input. I'm wondering, do we have any bin items?
They were really bad items. So.
Yes. I'd like to make a change to this. May we discuss item 5, which is new board member orientation, and then do celebrations? Would that be acceptable? And I have to go back. I believe it's proposed that the orientation would be after the oath of office on December the 7th, approximately 1 o'clock. Dr. Dole, you want to address that, or anyone want to pick up on that?
This, of course, the staff will have information, the operational information for the system, presenting our goals and strategies, and then the key processes in each department. And then I know that the board will have kind of an orientation as well to the board processes. And so we will start with the board and then transition to staff. That is at least my understanding. So we defer to the board for their part.
Do you mean?
The board procedures manual, at least to introduce it
Gotcha.
and hand it
Okay.
out as well as part of the training. I believe that
Okay.
that would be part of it.
Okay.
And I can either hand mine over, or if you have the extra one.
Mine has the most current stuff that will be, I'll come up here with Myra.
Okay.
And we'll get a,
Excellent.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have all updated as we went.
I have, but I'm not sure they're in the right places.
Okay, I'll get with Myra and we'll make sure that we have it right.
Excellent. Anything else? The next item that we traditionally do is celebrations. And I'm going to save mine for last. Is there someone that would like to offer a celebration?
I would like to celebrate Mr. Hill again for all your dedication, service to this Craven County school system, the children, stakeholders, everybody. We appreciate once again the work that you have done. And I'd like to celebrate the teachers for the sacrifice that they make every day, for the hard work that they put in. It's something different from them, but they do it, and we appreciate what they do.
Thank you.
I too would like to celebrate Mr. Hale, recognize him for service, the good service, the good job that you've done. And recognizing that teachers and the hard work that they are doing, all staff members,
Yes.
understanding the difficult time and that you're just willing to take this job on is quite, I mean, a compliment to you. And I think that I think it needs to be clear, and I hope that it is, that we are here to support you in what you're doing. And if you need our specific help or support as board members, that we are available to you. So I want all teachers to know that. I especially want to celebrate this evening, Myra Flowers, who always is so kind and quiet and yielding and works with me as a reminder. She didn't intend that I'd be late today, since I forgot last time. So she kindly called me, and she's so gracious in everything that she does. I really appreciate you. And Dr. Doyle, I want to put my cap off for you tonight for all this work and leading us through all of this. We know that we oftentimes are criticized because people don't understand what's really happening, how much work you're putting in, and how difficult it is. And you're doing a yeoman's job, and I want you to know that I recognize that and appreciate you for the good work that you do.
Thank you very much. I will just ditto all of that, but I also want to celebrate all of our really creative partners that are helping us right now. I mean, I see the ones in the Methodist churches all across districts, but I really just appreciate them for stepping up, because that's what it takes. I mean, we haven't lived through a pandemic before. This is new to everybody. And the churches and also just any organizations that have stepped up and helped and done it from their heart and done it well. I think we just really need to keep telling them thank you, because it might be a while.
That's right.
So
That's so true.
Ms. Flirt?
Yes, sir. In addition to everything that's being said, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, I also celebrate the students and the parents who have adapted as much as anybody in our community.
Good.
So kudos to them as well.
Good.
And I know that no one meant to leave them out, but they must be included as well.
Good.
Mr. Ipock?
Well, thank you. I guess I'd have to say that I agree with everything that has been celebrated so far, of course. Took many of the items that I would have suggested, but want to celebrate Mr. Hill once again for your leadership. Want to celebrate all the work that's going on out there across the school system. We get a list of that, looks dismal on the first pass, but knowing that came early, and one of the things that we do well is to adjust when we see that we have the need to. Want to celebrate all those that are working to make those adjustments to get our students back on track.
Dr. Doyle?
I actually have several celebrations. First, one of the things that we're working very hard on the cabinet level to do is to do coaching of school improvement teams. And I've had the chance to get to 2. I should have been to a 3rd one, but the inclement weather messed us all up last week. But I've had the opportunity to be at West Craven High Schools and have middle school improvement team meetings. And the conversations that those school improvement teams are having are just really, really at a high level. They are very concerned about the progress and the performance of their students. They are putting strategies in place to address areas that need improvement. And they really are focusing on the goals of their schools. And I just want to lift them up, both the leaders of those schools and recognizing that whole school improvement team is the leadership of that building. They're all doing great work. I also want to say, in conjunction with what Ms. Kim Smith said, is I want to lift up Vanceboro Church of God, and I may be saying the church wrong, but they have had a remote learning site for a while, but they have made contact with us, and I hope that this continues in other places, they want to continue their remote learning site after school. So they want to create an after-school program that's going to serve students and give extra support to those students they know are in need. And I think if there's I think many good things that have come out of this is that our churches really see a role that maybe they didn't see themselves playing, that they can play now into the future. And it doesn't just have to happen during the school day, that they can support our schools and support the families in their community by supporting students' attainment of their academic goals so that they can find and realize their personal goals as well. So those are two things that I want to celebrate today.
Very good. Ms. Flowers?
Oh, wait, I have one more.
Okay, you may have one more.
It's Myra Flowers' birthday today.
Oh,
Happy birthday to you.
happy birthday, and you never age.
She's 29.
She never aged. Did you hear me, Ms. Flowers? You never age.
She's gonna get.
I want to celebrate Laura and school nutrition and her recognition.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's her on the end.
Fantastic.
Oh, here.
Fantastic. Well, I saved the last, and truthfully, and as an old military man, I salute you, but I celebrate this board. And when I say this board, I include Dr. Doyle, Ms. Flowers. And I think what I'm thinking of is your encouragement, your kindness, and how we work together to find answers. And I closed it by saying, and we never forget, it's about our students. It's about their success. I celebrate you, and I will miss you, but I will be nearby. Ms.
One more
Clark?
thing, those students that presented tonight, the War Cubs, they did an outstanding job.
Yes, we'll include that in our plus deltas too, but yes, they did. Our students are always there for us. Are there any other items before we go to, and then we really can't add anything, so I think we've covered the agenda. We have a closed session scheduled. Is there a motion to go into closed?
I move to go into closed session to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, or condition of appointment of a public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee in accordance with NCGS 143 through 1811 subsection A6, to consult with an attorney in order to protect the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which is hereby acknowledged in accordance with NCGS 143 through 1811 subsection A3.
We have the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. We will now secure for a closed session, and Mr. IPOC will be back in touch with you.
Okay, everybody, we're going to close session. We have it scheduled for 60 minutes. We will reopen the public part again to close the meeting down. Join us.
I'm about to burst.
Okay.
Ms. Muse, have a wonderful